Wow. What you just said a few minutes ago about being in relationship with other people, co-creating, and having a sense that perhaps it didn't go well or they didn't meet up their end of the bargain. I can relate to that personally because I recently lived that experience. I discovered your work in January of this year, right as I was on the verge of making a long-held dream come true. And now after reading what your words are, I really see how I miscreated during this project because I didn't understand where I was. I didn't understand about the stream. I thought I have to row upstream as hard as I can to make this work. And now I understand how that isn't the way I should do this.
We want to just jump in with one little sentence, and that is you can't miscreate. You can't get it wrong because you never get it done. Yes. So the worst possible thing that could happen is something could not go the way you want it, which makes you know more clearly what you do want, which causes source to become something even better than it would have been if that hadn't happened. So now all you got to do is line up with this new improved version.
And
that's why so often you look back and you say, boy, that wasn't so bad because look what it led me to.
Yes.
You see.
But my question revolves around the concept of emotion and knowing, being able to follow that emotion before you take a certain path. And I was especially intrigued by the example I heard recently of Jerry and Esther's bus. And when I heard that example, I thought, yes. This is the piece for me but I'm confused.
Well, that's why we've put it into the analogy of this downstream. That's why we're saying, don't reach for the best thought you've ever found. Reach for the thought that brings you the feeling of relief, because as you're reaching for ease, as you're reaching for the path of least resistance, sometimes people think that's a negative term. The path of least resistance sounds lazy, and we say the path of least resistance means the path of most allowance. It means going with the stream that is really who you are. And so as you have to be consciously aware of this. We acknowledge that many who are hearing this for the first time, it's going to take you a while to even recognize where you are feeling. You have to sort of poke around it a little bit. Sometimes things happen and you cannot figure it out. Jerry and Esther have been in the city for a few days, and they've been working on a lot of different projects, and they've been really high and happy. In other words, feeling really, really good. And almost every day they've been going to their favorite restaurant in the area and having a really lovely meal. And so last night, or the day before, yesterday, they went to this place for lunch, and during the course of the meal, the fish that came was not good. It wasn't just not good, it was not good. And Esther put it in her mouth and spit it right back on the plate, and Jerry at the same time put it in his mouth and spit it right back on the plate. And they looked at each other surprised, because they are willing to announce to everyone, I take full responsibility for this rotten fish you have served me. But it was baffling to them. It was odd. In other words, just odd, off. How can the restaurant that we sing the praises of, how can the restaurant that we seek out, how can it be off? And then Jerry bit into his coleslaw and went, and found a rock in his coleslaw. Esther said, please don't tell them. Because she didn't think that manager that had that hurt look in his eye over the spoiled fish could take awareness of the rock. And so Jerry said, I won't tell them. We'll just leave this for another surprise for another person. And Esther said, well, we probably got the only bad fish in the restaurant, and we probably got the only rock in the coleslaw too. And then, so they thought they'd recovered from it, and then the girl came and she brought the bill, and Esther smiled at her and she said, how was the replacement fish? And Esther said, it was really delightful, and we love this place, and we've been eating here every day, almost apologizing to them for the discord that any of them might be feeling. And the woman picked up balsamic vinegar and dumped it on Esther. Dumped it on her. Did not mean to do it. Dumped it on Esther. And Esther looked down, and she looked at Jerry, and she looked at her blouse, and she looked at the woman, and she looked at Jerry, and she began to laugh The woman was horrified, and Esther said, the most important thing in this is no worries. And the woman just sighed a big sigh of relief. And Esther said, just bring me a little glass of tonic water, and I'll go to... Fortunately, Esther's blouse was almost the color of the vinegar. So what's going on? In other words, why would two very nice people who love this place, who've been living happily ever after all week, why would people dump things on them? Why would they line up with that? And we say, it's not so important that you figure out why it happens. And in fact, in other words, the vinegar wouldn't have come if they hadn't focused upon the rock. And he probably would have missed the rock if he hadn't focused on the fish. In other words, this is the universe saying, at the first opportunity to withdraw your attention. Now, they didn't withdraw their attention from the fish. They were nice, but their vibration was, wonder what happened, wonder how they got this fish, wonder how this fish passed the smell test. In other words, they didn't drop it. They had the experience of it, but it had their attention. And once it has their attention, then anything that was ever active in their vibration that's anything like that began. And so what we're saying to you is, don't try to figure it all out. Just stop wherever you are and take a new stance. Now, the laughing really helped. And Esther came back from the bathroom, and she was pretty soggy, but she had managed to get most of it out, and the woman passed her in the corridor, and Esther said, it all came out. Don't even think about it. And then they went to the dry cleaners to pick up their dry cleaning, and Jerry said, why don't you just leave this blouse while you... Esther couldn't bring herself to do that. But what we're getting at, as you have an experience that is less than what you want, you have to find a way of getting your attention off of it, because these are very fast moving times. In other words, when your stream is moving as fast as your stream is moving, this woman said to them, this is the way my day's been going. And Esther smiled and didn't say, glad we could help you out. Because it's not the way their day had been going, it was just the way the last few minutes had been going. But law of attraction is very clever. It will match you up with anything. In other words, if somebody's having a bad day and they are on the verge of dumping balsamic vinaigrette on someone, and you have just had bad fish and you're still beating the drum of it, you are a more logical candidate. So, and we don't want any of you to freak out and feel like you have to control your thoughts. We just want you to live in the real world, have your real experiences, feel what you're feeling, and reach for constant improvement in what you're feeling. In other words, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. And as you bring yourself to the place that you are relaxing, now there are people, even in this room, that are irritated that we are spending so much time talking about something that means so little in the terms of the scope of human endeavor. In other words, there are so many much bigger things going on than this. But we want you to understand the cancers that people are living are about not bigger things than this. In other words, people don't get cancer because they're thinking big, awful thoughts. People get cancer because they complain about spoiled fish, because they complain about rocks in their coleslaw, because they complain about people dumping vinegar on them, because they complain about people in traffic. In other words, it's the day-to-day nitty-gritty things that just rub you the wrong way, that you incessantly focus upon, that equal the basis of the majority of your vibration, which equals the basis of your attraction. So it does matter. And these things are easy to clean up. You see, these are the things that are easy to clean up. You want to be someone who is reaching for the best feeling thought you can find wherever you are. And don't start with big things. Start with little things. Start with the little things that are easy to turn until you begin to develop these patterns of relief within your being, until little by little by little. Jerry and Esther, the pattern they have going on, they have invited into their experience more things than two people can humanly comfortably do. So they must always be, they feel to each other, moving as efficiently and effectively as they can. So when anything gets, and so that feeling of frenzy would bring fish that would delay the meal. In other words, that it's just the way law of attraction doesn't give you what you want. Law of attraction gives you what you're vibrating. Law of attraction responds to your vibration, which is indicated by your feeling, you see. So once you get that and you begin to laugh about it and reach for relief about it, then you can work the bugs out of everything, you see. Do we get there for you, or do you want to talk about something specific?
Well, I guess I understand the process, and I know that when I think about this experience, what makes me feel better is to think, as you said, it's really not a big deal, that I can redo it.
But you see, it's really easier to think about something else than it is to get into that specific experience. This is the thing that this leading edge experience is helping you to understand. When every subject is two subjects, what's wanted on one end of the stick and what isn't wanted on the other end of the stick. And for most of you, when something has happened, every time you pick up the stick, you vibrate where you last vibrated. That's why when we say to you that what's manifesting is a vibrational indicator. In other words, as Jerry and Esther left the restaurant, Esther said to Jerry, the thing I really want to remember about this is that this point of attraction did not begin when we walked into this restaurant. In other words, it didn't happen because we were there. It didn't happen because of what was going on there. It was in our vibration looking for the path of least resistance. Everything is looking for the path of least resistance, you see. So if you've got something going on and it doesn't feel good and you're not cleaning it up, don't worry, it will get bigger. And if you've got something going on and you're not cleaning it up, don't worry, it will get bigger. And how fun it is that the universe says, here you go, 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 here you go. And if it's balsamic vinegar, it feels different than if it's appreciation. You see. So you just got to say, well, there I go. There I go. How did that feel? So Esther would say, all right, so this manifestation, this sort of barrage of discomfort. So what did it feel like? Well, it felt out of control. It felt like I can't control the many moving parts in my life. It felt like I need to control things I can't control. And we say to Esther, sound familiar? Sound familiar? I need to control things I can't control. And we say, so give it up. Give it up. Stop trying to control the things you can't control. Say, law of attraction, you're in charge. You're controlling the universe. And all I can do is be aware of my vibrational participation in it. So rather than controlling people's behavior, how about controlling how I feel? Which means choosing what I think, responding less to what people are doing and more to what I think, you see? And so then when we bring that clarity to Esther, there's a long list of things that she's been frustrated that she can't control. They're far away from their office. They have a new house that's being remodeled in Del Mar. There's another house that's being built in Texas. There's a new bus being built in Coburg. And all these people are scurrying around, and Esther cannot control any of them. She can't control them. They're using their own ideas. They're using their own skills. In other words, she can't control them. She can't begin to control them. When your life is smaller, you think you're controlling it. You're not. It's only when it gets big and outrageously out of control that you're finally willing to give up control. So that's what it is for Esther, and it's what it is for you too. If you'll give up control and give it to the manager, law of attraction, and then you control the only thing you can, which is how I feel right now. I can feel a little better and I can feel a little worse. Those are my choices. I can feel a little better and I can feel a little worse. Those are my choices. That's what I can control. I can control the direction of my thought right now. Therefore, I can control whether I feel a little better or a little worse, a little better or a little worse. And sometimes you have to scrape your bus on the gate or get vinegar thrown in your lap before you realize you can't control them. You can't control them. The woman looked at Esther with such horror, Esther will never forget the look on her face. The woman wanted to die. She couldn't believe that she had dumped vinegar on this nice person. And we say it could not have been otherwise. You say, nice to know. Very good. Good time for a segment of refreshment. Good time for